Content is intended to provide accurate information, however, is not intended as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult a financial, legal, or tax professional for specific information regarding your individual situation. Opinions expressed and provided are for general informational purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security.
Welcome to Game Plan for Retirement with Chris Mcintire. Mcintire Retirement Services, Northwest Ohio's retirement planning resource.
And welcome into the program. This is your Game Plan for Retirement with Northwestern Ohio's resource for that common sense approach to planning that we all need, looking at this complex financial world, preparing for our futures, from our investments to our retirement accounts, giving us the guidance, the perspective on how to plan and prepare. He is Chris Mcintire, president and founder of Mcintire Retirement Services. Chris, welcome back in.
Well, good to be here with you, Peter. I hope everybody's doing well this weekend and enjoying the change of seasons right now.
Yeah, we are back into the warm weather, the swing of things, Chris. Days are longer, get more done. I think I'm more productive during the summer months, so happy for that. I enjoy that. And today we're going to be talking about getting things done, getting ready to retire. You've got this great resource, this report of these 12 questions to know if you're ready. Are you prepared for retirement? And I think anybody who's on the doorstep, Chris, making the transition perhaps in the next 5 to 10 years, it would be of benefit to them to take a look at this list and start to think about their answers to these questions.
I would certainly think so, Peter. And, the sooner you get started, the less anxiety you're going to have. And you might not always like the answers that you're going to get, but at least you'll get the facts. And, for some folks, they may be right on track, ready to retire. For other folks, they might have to do some more due diligence and kind of have that, come to retirement moment where, all right, well, maybe I do need to work a couple more years so that somebody else is providing the health insurance until I get to the Medicare age, which is very common, of 65. So number of different factors that we all need to be aware of.
Yeah, that is a big one, Chris. I know a lot of people feel like they're ready to retire, except for that healthcare question. How am I going to cover my medical expenses? Well, that's one of the issues that's covered in this list and report. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are thinking of retiring in the near future, or even already retired, if you've got a spouse, a family member, even a coworker or a friend who's thinking about retiring anytime in the next 5 to 10 years, go ahead and give a call right now, request this list, get it in your hands and hand it to them. It will be appreciated. It will be of benefit and value. All you need to do is call 800-868-1194. That is 800-868-1194 and request the Are You Ready? Are You Prepared to Retire? List of questions in this report, 800-868-1194. And then Chris, your strategy session and the game plan for retirement that you help put together for Northwest Ohio savers and investors, that really helps to answer and address all of the questions on this list.
Peter, when you do this all day, every day for folks, you kind of know some of the basic things that you want to look at and look for where there are common holes in the bucket, if you will, that maybe the ordinary listener who, doesn't do this for a living isn't aware of. And it might be a taxation issue if all your money's in a 401k. It may be stock market issues if you're, maybe overly allocated to stocks or even over allocated to bonds, if you will. That door can swing both ways, on too aggressive to too conservative. And, for most folks that are listening here today that have been contributing to that 401k plan, it would be the income gap, because once you stop working, stop getting that regular income check that we're all accustomed to, where are you going to derive that fund? And man, that can be an anxious moment. I've sat in enough conference room settings with enough folks that you can see and feel the anxiety on their face, in their body language on, look, this is something completely different. I've been working for 40 years getting a regular paycheck. What do you mean I got to stop and pull money out of an account I've been putting money into? A whole different paradigm shift, if you will.
Chris, do you ever talk to people who obviously have enough money to retire successfully, but still they're nervous and anxious to begin pulling and withdrawing from those accounts?
Several times a week, no question about it. And, I've got a client in particular that, wants to get a motor home, but says, I'll never end up spending the money for it. And, hopefully I can work on him and show them that, look, you can go ahead and get that motor home. Doesn't mean you're going to keep it forever. You'll sell it and get some of that money back at some point.
When the direction of the money changes, it can cause a little angst and anxiety. But again, if we've got answers to these 12 questions, it can lead to a lot of additional confidence in making that big transition and that big shift. So get this list, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready to retire? How would you answer these 12 questions to know if you are prepared? And number one, Chris, on this list, I like the phraseology. I like the wording of many of these questions. I think, bring to light some particular issues and aspects in planning that maybe we need to think of a little differently. It's not about the day that we retire with this particular question, although we obviously need to have an answer to this question on the day that we retire. But do you know how long you would be able to generate the income you need if your paycheck stopped today? I think this is a question that is appropriate at any stage in our financial progress, from having that emergency account to having maybe disability, to just making sure that we are prepared in case our company says they no longer are in need of our services.
Yeah, it's a good point, and it's a very um, couldn't be a very disheartening conversation to have, or a question to get the answer to, because some folks don't have that adequate savings and aren't planning for early retirement. And obviously we see it happen quite often, and sometimes we're bridging a gap until they find that next position or that next job. And some folks have had to relocate. The pandemic has caused a lot of different types of issues. Of course, you and I are still kind of working remote here. I'm still at home here for the most part right now, and I've been vaccinated, so we're going back into the office and starting to getting back into normal. But that's not everybody's case. Some folks have really had some major disruptions. We did a discussion at the Terra State Community College there in Fremont on, kind of the downsizing aspect, where some companies, just did a big, some sweeping changes and got rid of, several folks. And typically when they do that, those are the folks that are closer to retirement, that are, the corporate accountants get in there and say, hey, if we're going to trim some fat, it's easier to trim it off people that make more money than people that make less money.
Yeah. And so we need to be prepared. We need to have an answer to that question. Do you know how long you would be able to generate the income you need if your paycheck stopped today? Obviously, as we are intentioned to walk away from the paycheck, we need to have an answer to that question, as we do it on purpose. And Chris, the next several questions talk about how to have that specific answer with confidence to that question when we are planning to walk away from the paycheck. As you indicated and alluded to, have you identified and calculated your retirement income gap? Now, a lot of people's financial plans, even as they are making the transition to retirement, don't address this important issue.
You're right, Peter. The retirement income gap is the amount of money you're going to need once you subtract out the pension income, the Social Security income, and then what is that number that you need to fill on a monthly basis that you're going to have to draw out of your savings? Is it $2,000 a month? Is it $4,000 a month? And then, which is $48,000 a year. Are you including the taxes that might have to be paid on that money? And then as we look into the future, we're seeing inflation right now is kind of the buzzword here for 2021, is there are certainly some supply chain shifts going on that, we're waiting 4 months on a dishwasher. Those prices aren't going down. Those prices are going up, obviously. So, are you accounting for inflation in that 25-year window you may have in your retirement, or even longer?
Another issue that a lot of financial plans, forecasts, and projections don't address. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, taking a look at this list of these 12 questions to know if you are ready to retire will be of benefit to you. If you'd like the list to go over on your own time, or if you'd like to sit down with Chris to formulate a plan, your game plan for retirement, on how you would answer these questions specifically, pick up the phone now and give a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. That game plan for retirement, by the way, it's not 1,000 pages of high-level financial jargon that is meant to go over your head. This is simple, easy to understand language, concise, consolidated steps and action items after a discussion of your goal, writing them down so that they are documented and you know that you're working to achieve them. Chris will formulate some recommendations that you can take, steps that you should take in order to make those goals your future realities. And then you can talk about how to implement that plan along with Chris. Again, if you'd like your game plan for retirement, if you'd like this list of these 12 questions, pick up the phone now and give a call. 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. Chris, this next one, equally important and sort of a byproduct of solving the question of the income gap, the last issue. Do you know how much you will have available in discretionary assets above what you'll need to generate retirement income? This is where people get confidence and security in having an answer to this and having identified it.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. And we'll make it basic because we're on the radio here. So let's say you needed $40,000 a year and you had $1 million to draw that $40,000 off of. That's the 4% withdrawal rate, if you will. And how do you generate that? Do you do that out of stock dividends? Do you do that out of growth in stock? Do you do that out of bond interest? Do you buy your own annuity to give you some of that lifetime income? A number of different ways to figure that out. And then you'll see, all right, well, I've got, $150,000, $200,000 above that threshold. So that gives you a cushion for stock market volatility. Or, if you need to buy that Harley Davidson, you can prove to the wife that, that, hey, I've got the funds on, to take that the other way. Maybe the wife wants a Corvette as well. So yeah, we're equal opportunity spenders here, right, Peter?
A little security blanket, though, the ability to have that confidence, whoever is needing to buy the big ticket item and to do the spending, or just to give us some confidence that expenses later in life won't derail the basis of the plan and our standard of living, Chris.
No question about it, buddy. I mean, and it's having some of that peace of mind, that's confidence, that reduces stress, that's better on your long-term health. I mean, all of these money factors can translate into mental issues, health issues over the long haul. And, Peter, you and I are pretty big advocates of, trying to lead a healthy type of lifestyle. And, knowing that those long-term impacts, will give us some, longer health, the ability to enjoy other things in life. My wife is saying here, in the month of March, as you know, we went down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, some of the shows we filmed from down there actually. And, was look, let's take we need to plan one of these trips on the post-pandemic side of, a bucket list trip, because if you don't plan it and don't do it, it'll never happen. And, we had a health issue within our family, related to that a few years ago. And thankfully we're on the other side of that.
But a little time for ourselves, a little mental health get away important as well. And taking your physical health equally, if not more important than your financial health. And you've got to take a look at all of that. But these issues, this list of the 12 questions, this is more on the financial side of things, making sure that your checks are in the right boxes, that you've got the foundation squared away. And number 4, Chris, this is really boiling it down to what people want their money to do for them. And we hear about diversification, and we hear about these things: large cap, small cap, mid cap, baseball cap, hub cap, domestic, international. I've never said, hey, I want my money to do more mid cap. I need more small cap in my portfolio because this is what I need from it. No, I've said things like, I need more growth. I need more liquidity. I want more income. I want more safety. So number 4 question, do you know if your portfolio is properly diversified to provide enough growth, safety, liquidity, and income? These are the important things that diversification is really all about.
Absolutely. And it's more than just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. There are other things that you can utilize for your retirement. When we had a normal interest rate world, some folks would park some money in some CDs and they would ladder them out so that they matured in a different schedule, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and so on. That strategy obviously has been taken away from us because of the low interest rate environment. We use some annuities in that regard to generate income, or also for a growth and a safety feature, the way that we use them in our practice. Or, bonds have had a lot of volatility here in the 2021 calendar year so far from the inflation side of things. And, I'm not sure that that's going to mitigate itself. So again, what are some of the alternatives? Are there better ways of doing it than what I read about in Money Magazine 10 years ago or 15 years ago? I mean, the world has evolved, incredibly. And, right now people are out there betting on Bitcoin and, like never before. And, it's a whole different avenue of choices that we have the ability to take a look and take advantage of. We do a lot of life insurance to build cash value in there for a tax standpoint, for a long-term care standpoint. So, a number of different avenues that the folks that are listening here today that need to go into it with an open mind and not just say, well, I saw something on the internet. And we all know that that could just be a piece of pop propaganda in today's world. And many times it is.
Well, what you just alluded to there, Chris, could be addressed if we did number 5. Do you hold annual reviews of your plan to assess if you have met previous goals and to set new goals and benchmarks? And I bet that if we honestly reflected on this question, there's a lot of people out there that maybe couldn't even recall the last time they sat down with their advisor and did an annual review.
Yeah, no question, Peter. Something that we find that it keeps us accountable. It keeps you accountable that, look, you're spending too much money. We're blowing this plan up. It's not going to work. You need to make some changes, or everything's right on track, and things look good this quarter going into the next quarter. Gives you the ability to make some adjustments. And a lot of times you can react quicker because you've got an established relationship instead of a one and done. All right, we got the money. We'll see you whenever we need to see you. We just find that, this revolving relationship that we have on ongoing basis keeps us accountable, keeps the clients accountable, and it seems to be a win-win situation for all. And who wouldn't want a win-win?
Because a financial plan, Chris, must change and evolve as well. I mean, our condition is going to change. Our situation is going to evolve over time. The world around us obviously is going to change, sometimes very dramatically and very quickly. We need to have those benchmarks set to know that we're working towards some goals, near term, short term, intermediate, long term goals, but we also need to make sure that we're checking off when we've met certain goals and then setting new ones, and then that the plan still reflects our situation currently and into the future, not where we were 5 or 10 years ago. And I think a lot of people still have that 5 or 10 years ago plan, and maybe it would behoove them, it would serve them well to review that and update it.
Correct, Peter. And, as an example here for us would have been, reviewing with our current clients right now in the overall bond market in the inflation side of things is a good example. We've got an administration now in place where we've heard more along the lines of tax increases, corporate taxes, and some other things like that. So legislatively, as different parties take power in Washington, that's going to have an impact on certain types of investments. The interest rate environment, certainly has something to do. The tax brackets are big. We've had how many shows on Roth IRA conversions? Those are conversations you need to keep having, folks, and work on those pieces. They changed the required minimum distributions from 70.5 to 72, as part of the Secure Act. And then the way that IRAs get distributed when you pass away, that may require some changes as well.
Well, lots of things change obviously very quickly in the financial world, and that's why you need to review your plan on a regular basis. If it's been a while since you have reviewed your financial situation, your plan, your accounts, your investments, your outlook for retirement, pick up the phone, give Chris Mcintire a call. He offers that opportunity with no cost, no obligation. He will put together that game plan for retirement with you, for you, addressing investments, addressing income, addressing taxes, healthcare, legacy, many other aspects of the plan. and giving you a snapshot of where you are today, discussing your goals with you, documenting those, and then giving recommendations on the steps that you can take in order to achieve them. Or if you would like this list of the 12 questions to know if you're ready to retire, just to go over on your own time, by yourself or with your spouse or family or loved ones, or even to hand to a coworker who may be thinking about retiring in the near future, they will appreciate it. They will thank you. This list will provide some value in their thoughts and in their plans. Pick up the phone right now, request the list, request your game plan for retirement. 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. 800-868-1194. Chris, I'm about halfway through here. This next question, obviously, we cannot have a conversation about retirement without talking about Social Security. And I like the wording on this one as well. Have you formulated a plan for how to use Social Security to maximize income and protect your personal assets? Most people don't really have a plan per se with Social Security. Maybe just that they plan on going and getting it as soon as they're eligible, or they plan on waiting until the last day that it's going to continue to grow.
Sure. A good example is I'm going to take Social Security at 62. I got offered early retirement. So I'm going to take Social Security. It'll lessen the money I need to take out of my 401k portfolio. And that may be the best option for that person. They also need to realize that once they get to age 65, they're going to lose some of that Social Security benefit when they pick up Medicare and so they're going to get some little bit less money when that happens. And then also the inflation side with Social Security, cost of living adjustments often get taken by the Medicare premium adjustment. So we always tell people, don't count on getting big increases in your Social Security benefit. And most people don't get big increases in their pensions unless they have a government pension, typically with a cost of living adjustment. So the inflation side of things is a big factor when selecting what age you take Social Security and what you do with your pension as well.
Now, Chris, the folks down at the Social Security Administration office, they don't provide guidance on this issue. They don't know the rest of your financial situation. So they don't provide recommendations. They don't take on that liability to tell you if it's the best day to claim your benefit. They just help you file on the day that you show up. And that's why some pre-education, a little bit of work in calculating the numbers, running the scenarios, oftentimes can mean the difference in 50, 100, sometimes several hundreds of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of a couple. And that's money that we either are going to get from Social Security or that we're going to have to generate from our personal assets and our personal nest egg. The word entitlement is thrown around as though it's a bad thing. I feel as though entitlement is the correct term. I put into Social Security. I'm entitled to that money, and I want to get the most out of it that I can to protect, again, my personal assets.
Yes, Peter. And, they took it out of you from your income as a tax. Your employer had to pay a part of that tax as well. And then when you pull enough out of it and take some of that money out with an IRA withdrawal, the government's going to tax that Social Security again and take some of that back. So, calculating all of those issues is very important. And, let's be honest, those folks that work at the Social Security Administration are overwhelmed. It's not like they, hire more people because more people are retiring. They have to work off of a budget as well. Their job is to take your application and, they have people coming in right behind you. So, they're not there to assess your overall financial picture. They have a job to do to process your Social Security application, and that is it.
Well, Chris Mcintire, as part of that game plan for retirement that he'll help put together with you for you, does run a Social Security report and analysis. And if for no other reason, that is worth the time to go and get the education to run the scenarios and find an optimal strategy for how to make that claim and begin collecting Social Security, the strategy that you should use and implement, and maybe how to coordinate that with your spouse. It can mean the difference in several hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of retirement. Certainly worth the investment of a half hour to an hour of your time. Pick up the phone and give a call, 800-868-1194, 800-868-1194. Skipping ahead a little bit here, Chris, you mentioned taxes. Now, there's a lot of talk about taxes right now. There's talk about changes in rates and brackets. There's talk about changing estate tax. There's talk about changing corporate taxes. we've given some information over the last several weeks on proactive strategies to help control that question of the variable of taxation in retirement. But question number 11 on this list: do you understand how much you will be paying in taxes in retirement, and how much of your retirement account withdrawals you will actually get to keep? This is obviously a pretty important one to answer. If we're thinking that we just need to withdraw $4,000 a month and we actually need to withdraw $5,000 a month to account for that taxation, that's a much higher cash flow rate potentially. And if we haven't factored that in, could lead to us running out of money sooner than we expected.
Yeah, it might only sound like $1,000, but from 4 to 5,000, that's a 25% increase in that withdrawal that you're taking out. That can be significant. And, taxation and inflation are two of the biggest threats that we're all looking at that can have an impact on our long-term retirement planning, and, not running out of money. More importantly, not running out of income.
Well, several additional questions on this list, but I do want to again reiterate that if you would like this list of these 12 questions, are you ready to retire, to go over on your own time, to go over with your spouse, with your family, with loved ones that may be considering retirement in the near future, or even already retired, having answers to these questions would definitely be beneficial. If a coworker has mentioned that they are thinking about retiring, give a call right now, request this list. Chris Mcintire will get that in your hands. You can give it to them. They will appreciate it. They will thank you. 800-868-1194, the number to call. That's 800-868-1194. You can also always go to McIntyreRetirementServices.com, McIntyreRetirementServices.com. Chris, a couple more of these that I think are important that people really need to think of. Do you know the cash flow rate your portfolio will need to generate in order to meet your retirement needs? This is one that's been widely debated. And then, do you know the percent of your working income you will need to replace in order to support your lifestyle in retirement? Kind of some misconceptions about that one as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. So, again, easy math for a radio show. If you need, if you were working and making $100,000 a year in your household and you need 85% of that, you need $85,000 a year. Is that a gross number or a net number after taxes? How much of that's going to come from Social Security and pensions? And then what's that dollar amount you need to withdraw from the nest egg? So working some of those math calculations, it can sound very, if you don't do this for a living, it can sound very overwhelming. And I think, we've been doing this for decades, so we have the ability to break it down into everyday, ordinary terms. If you're an engineer, I appreciate you when you bring in your spreadsheets, and you've made my job even a little bit easier to have a laugh at it today.
Well, Chris, number 12, rounding home here. Do you have a retirement income allocation plan in writing? Lots of people have financial projections that sort of show an assumed rate of return, but the written income allocation, that's a different style of plan that most savers and investors actually do not have, that would serve them well and provide a lot of additional confidence in retirement.
Yeah, no question about it. Seeing it in front of you is certainly, if you're a visual learner versus an audio learner, which is, kind of our transition here on the radio. As you hear us, you can't see us unless you're watching on the podcast as well. But, having the ability to input data, to see it in real time, and then, God forbid something happens to a spouse, what does that look like immediately on your retirement plan? So we have that issue as well. And again, that's one of those questions I wanted to throw in there is, what happens if something you didn't plan for happens? Life is what happens to plans, we say. How would that impact your long-term growth?
Well, again, if you need help, if you'd like to formulate your game plan for retirement, pick up the phone, give Chris Mcintire a call. Similar reviews, similar plans with experienced qualified professionals can easily go upwards of $1,000 to several thousands of dollars. Chris waives fees for the callers to this radio program to sit down, get that planning review, design the initial plan, and to help you identify strategies to be more efficient, to leverage your money in areas of investments, in income, in taxes, in healthcare and legacy, the fees that you're paying, the risks that you're taking, the taxes that you may be liable for. You need to identify all of these, and a snapshot of concise recommendations and your picture where you are today is all put together in that game plan for retirement, or you can get this list of these 12 questions. All you need to do is pick up the phone now and give a call, 800-868-1194. That's 800-868-1194. Chris, we always appreciate your time and guidance. Thank you for being here as our resource on your game plan for retirement and the resource for so many savers and investors across Northwestern Ohio.
Peter, it's a pleasure. We've been doing this for a lot of years, and we enjoy helping folks here in Northwest Ohio. So everybody be safe, and thank you for listening today.
Visit McIntyreRetirementServices.com for many additional valuable resources, including other great episodes of Game Plan for Retirement with Chris Mcintire. Be sure to subscribe.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.
Any comments regarding safe and secure investments and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Indexed or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract.